I'm about ready to go whenever. We good? Alrighty. So when I say go, 3, 2, 1, and go.
So right off the bat, we've got like a 2.5-minute mandatory cutscene.
Yes, this just kind of introduces you to the story of this game. So for anyone unfamiliar with the Ys series, this is a prequel to the first game in the series, which is Ys 1. This is a very long-running series. This is actually celebrating its 30th anniversary this year and is actually older than Final Fantasy, believe it or not. So this is a top-down action-ish.
It's like isometric, right?
Yeah.
Whatever. Something like that.
It's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, action RPG with a lot of movement and interesting tech and glitches. I personally really enjoy this run a lot, and I enjoy this series a lot for a lot of its combat. So the story here is there's these two characters, Rhea and Fina. They're two goddesses, and they have found a mysterious sword on the ground, which belongs to the character that we will be playing as. His name is Toll. He is a gray-haired demon human who sold his soul. I like to liken him to Dante from the Devil May Cry series meets Wolverine.
In terms of like timeline, this is about 100 years before the first game, so there's a big kind of bridge between the two. But this kind of like sets up everything for what the Ys series eventually kind of goes on towards. And I believe the only game in the series that doesn't directly involve Adol, but as a kind of main kind of part because it's so far in the past that he's not obviously around.
Adol's not alive yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the setup here is we are joined by the other bad guys. Toll is a bit more of an anti-hero or anti-villain, at least at the start, in that he's kind of just in it for his own objective, which is power. He joined these guys after his mentor, whose name is Saul Tova, was killed in battle.
Yeah.
And now he's just kind of on a power hunt. So,
just quickly, it should be noted that this is an unlockable character. The first two characters you play are Hugo and Unica, and they kind of play on the goodies side, let's say, in inverted commas. So this is the bad side of it of the overall story.
Yeah, so you'll see in the category it's any % Toll EX. EX is actually a unlockable mode that you can get by beating the game with all characters and then doing an arcade mode to get through enough points. I'll explain the differences between Toll and Toll EX, but it makes the run about 7.5 minutes shorter in a nutshell. So we're getting into our first battle here, kind of a basic combat tutorial, which we're going to break very quickly. Okay.
Go for it.
Alrighty, so what I have just done is I clipped out of the boundaries of the arena, and this sets Toll's X and Y coordinates to the north end of the screen, which makes this cutscene really funny because Zava, the sorceress here, who kind of doesn't trust us, is off looking at him at the top of the room and walks to the center of the room to hand us a crystal. The crystal is an important key item. It lets us teleport to these warp statues, which you will be seeing right here. There's about 20 some odd of them, and it's really nice because this game gives you fast travel very quickly.
And yeah, of course, it's also worth noting that clipping out of bounds and getting that position doesn't just make the cutscene goofy, it puts you closer to where you need to be. So it saves like a second or so.
We're going to see something, basically there's going to be a lot of mechanical abuses, a variety of different skills that are going to allow us to kind of clip out of bounds, skip a lot of either particular boss triggers or doors themselves. Ghost always likes to ask the question when it comes to this run, what are doors? What are keys? We'll keep you guessing with that one. So the basic movement, you'll see this lunge being used to kind of make our way across. It obviously does do an attack as well. And then obviously Ghost is going to try and get all the enemies together in one kind of area and then go ham on the attacks by doing as many kind of combo cancelling as he can to get like really, really rapid attack, nice and fast. By defeating all these enemies, this chest will become available and we'll get I can't remember the name. The Cerulean Flabellum. Yeah, Cerulean Flabellum, which gives Toll access to the skill called Godspeed. Now, when you use this in X mode, you can actually combine it with that lunge to do what's called the God Lunge. And I'm pretty sure that the chaps to my side will say this is a ridiculously good skill because you can see just how far you can slide doing this.
Kill that guy to reach level 2. Level scaling in this game is very, how do I put it, exponential. One level up can be the difference between whether a boss fight takes 2 minutes or 10. So a lot of this game's routing is based on what level we are at each particular point in the game.
Yeah, it should be noted also that the lungeability reduces the defense of enemies, making them obviously easier to kill.
Yeah, that's going to be really important in a room coming up in a few minutes or so. There's a mandatory mob that he has to kill that's going to have tons of defense, but that'll make it a lot easier.
Yeah, so we just got sucked into a hole there. We need to go through that room in order to proceed. So we need to find a way through, which we will shorten that a little bit. So we're coming up on one of the first neat little tricks. I would not call this a glitch per se, but it's pretty interesting. This one was found by an Italian runner by the name of Alactorn, which shout outs to the East community. I got that first try. It never happens first try.
Yeah, it's worth noting that Godspeed. Ideally, you want to be like not moving at all, like not pushing your movement, because you go a little faster then. But when you're not actively moving in a direction, the game will just make you auto-target the nearest enemy. So those teleporting mages in those arena can just randomly ruin that jump by getting in range of you and making you dash in completely the wrong direction.
So we didn't really talk about it, but I just clipped through a door. The thing that makes Godspeed broken is not just how fast it makes you move, but also how, depending on your angle, you can clip through a ton of things, because there's a brief moment in the animation where Toll has no hit detection. So you kind of just sort of warp behind certain doors. And we'll be abusing this a lot in this run. For the most part, though, it doesn't skip a whole lot of important content. It mostly just skips cutscenes and passages where we would just be ignoring enemies anyway.
I mean, there are a lot of doors that kind of have these big red barriers that you need to defeat these glowing red enemies, and they normally have a much higher defense and HP value, and just by being able to get through the door, we don't have to kill them and defeat them, which saves a lot of time as well.
Yeah, so we don't actually need the key that we just picked up in that chest. We just need it to feed the adorable little creature called a Rue. It gives us an item called Cleary Ore, which upgrades our offense, because like I said, this game's damage formula is a little ridiculous. Without that Cleary Ore, I would not be able to complete this run nearly as fast as I currently am.
So yeah, coming up is that encounter we were talking about, where he's really going to have to utilize the lunge attacks to try and get some defense drops. In addition, he's going to be using jump attacks. He's going to try and get these bats to go up in the air and use jump attacks, because jump attacks do a ton more damage than any ground-based attacks. And he's also kind of under-leveled according to the game standards for fighting these. So like ground attacks just do a whole bunch of 1 damage slashes. It would take forever. These bats are playing pretty nice right now.
Not bad for them.
They never play nice.
Bats are jerks. Bats are always jerks.
For anyone who's kind of like familiar with the RPG speedrunning community, birds are jerks, or anything that flies is a jerk, is the general kind of consensus, especially in action RPGs. It's a lot worse.
All right, so yeah, with the bats down, he gets the ability to go into demon form, which gives you this really nice red text in your dialogue boxes that we'll be seeing right here.
It also makes it so that you take half damage. Your attack combo is a little bit different. And it also allows us to use the ability called Boost, which is the incentive that everyone graciously donated for. Again, thank you everyone for doing that.
Burst, right?
Yeah, Burst.
Burst, right. Boost is the name of the transformation. They sound similar. It's 3:30 a.m. I think we've all been up a little.
Oh yeah, so coming up here is a really huge skip. Yeah, we're just gonna clip right through this barrier, hopefully.
Yeah, I can fail this for. I have to watch my boost meter, because if I run out, I get sucked into the room below. And we got it third try. That's actually excellent.
Yeah, so what you're supposed to do there is kill the 4 turrets, and it like shuts off the trap, and that also triggers a cutscene with one of the other game's playable characters, Unica. It's really lengthy. It takes a while. But thankfully, thanks to the broken power of Godspeed and God lunging, again, doors, barriers, walls, all just kind of suggestions.
Who needs them?
It should be noted as well that is also why Ghost King prefers to use keyboard and mouse controls, because there are specific pixels that he'll place the mouse at or the mouse cursor to know exactly kind of what angle he's getting on his God lunge when he is going through doors. Some runners, I believe yourself,
Matty,
I've got stuff.
Yeah,
sorry,
okay.
Matty, is that you actually use controller because you're a bit more comfortable with it?
Yeah, I did back when I played.
All right. Took a few tries to slip past this barrier. Again, God Lunge allows us to make skips that originally were not actually possible for many years.
Okay, so we're coming up on the second boss. We actually skipped the first boss entirely. You couldn't even tell because it just looked like we were kind of running through the game normally, other than the door clipping, obviously. But so yeah, this is actually the second boss, but the first boss we'll be fighting. He's Velgunder.
It's the first major boss of the game.
Ideally, you're going to kill this in 4 cycles, but after the first phase, you just got to wail on his face. He'll get stunned, then you climb up the arms and hit his head for a while. And you're like set to only be able to deal 1/4 of his health right here every time you go up there. But he'll start dropping these little bugs that you'll be seeing that leave these green slime trails. Those green slime trails have slippery properties, which the slippery floor physics in this game are one of the worst things. If you just touch it, you'll like slide all over the place. You'll completely lose control, and that can make you miss a cycle. Because he has this attack where he inhales, and you just like have to run away.
Like there.
But when he does it, like yeah, here it comes.
Oh.
But thankfully interrupts it,
Canceled it.
gets the damage done. When he inhales, he'll eat all the bugs on the floor and recover health and add an extra cycle to the fight. So you really don't want that.
Yeah, the slippery floor is really good for going fast, but it's also very hard to like cancel the momentum in another direction. So you don't really have the opportunity to stop on a
Ooh,
dime.
nice. Okay, interrupted it there, and that should be Velgunder.
Yep.
Nice.
This is going really well
Yeah,
so far.
really close on that last cycle, but well done.
The other thing you might have noticed is he spent a few seconds grinding in one of the rooms right before the boss area. The interesting thing about XP in this game is as you build up a hit combo, you get up to about double XP per kill. Keeping that combo is really important for making sure that we get maximum XP out of every enemy we kill.
And that actually extends to other things as well. So by hitting enemies generally, as Matty said, you'll get an experience buff. But also when you defeat certain like regular mobs, they'll drop upgrades to your defense, your attack, and your other stats. And we'll be basically trying to collect a certain bonus going into certain fights, obviously to help deal damage before that bonus runs out. You'll see all of that on the bottom left, just above the HP screen. You'll just see kind of the bar, the multiplication it's got, and then the timer it has until that buff runs out.
Yeah, basically you're wanting to see, like there's 4 bars over there. The bottom one is the orange bar, which is your hit combo. The higher that is, the more experience you get from enemies, up to a 1.99 multiplier. Then there's the yellow bar, which is your MP regeneration rate. Pretty self-explanatory why that's great. More MP regeneration means more spamming magic, spamming Godspeed, which lets us go fast. Blue is defense. We don't really care about that because we're playing on easy difficulty. Damage output from enemies for the most part is pretty low, and we use that to just kind of skip most armor upgrades. Like towards the kind of like late middle game, the lack of armor kind of starts to catch up with us, and enemies start doing reasonable amounts of damage again. But then yeah, the top bar is the red bar. That's the strength boost. And yeah, we've got another anime cutscene here. I actually submitted this game as my first GDQ submission a few years back, and it got declined. They pretty much told me there was too much anime. So
Toll EX kind of gets rid, kind of skips a bit more of the
Yeah,
anime.
so-
Yeah, the
so the
Unica
East
version has a
Origins-
lot more
yeah.
cutscenes.
Yeah, I mean, so in terms of what's going on here, it's kind of a flashback to Toll's life before he kind of sold his soul to the demons, and he does have this luscious blonde hair, as you see here, and was obviously a friend and guard of the goddesses Fina and Rhea. Fina's got the longer hair and the parting, and Rhea's got the bangs and the shorter hair. Just in case you care about that kind of stuff.
Would this be a good time for some donations?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Excellent. We have quite a few. Salty Bet donated $30, saying best of luck to Ghost King from the Salty Bet Night Crew. Donation towards Runner's Choice.
So runner's choice will be Glenn for Frog.
Yes, my boy.
I want to make that one interesting. So the last cutscene that played before this, there is a woman by the name of Epona, no Zelda relation, she has a bigger role in other character stories. In here, she just appears in a couple of cutscenes. And she tells us that a mysterious person who looks a lot like Toll is in the tower, and Toll's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And Toll's like, I know exactly what you're talking about. And we'll get into where that comes from.
The silver bracelet here gives you dashing speed. Beforehand, we've enabled the always dash option, so he doesn't even need to do anything after picking it up. He's just already dashing, and you might notice like a slight increase in his general movement speed here.
Yeah,
so.
you see the little puffs of dirt coming out from under him.
Yeah,
He's
that's how you know he's
signifies
going
the
fast.
dashing.
So you'll also notice that I am infinitely attacking enemies with the same attack. if you mash left click and your attack button, you can repeat the same hit of the combo over and over again. We refer to this as combo canceling. And this also thankfully preserves momentum. The one trick to it, though, however, is it is very easy to end up getting stuck on the wrong attack, and then you actually lose damage per second. Like there. When in boost, Toll's third attack is the one we want to mash, and outside of boost, we want to mash the first one.
Yeah, amusingly enough, in one of the other character speedruns, Unica combo canceling is actually in the early game the fastest way for her to move. So you just kind of do this weird like hop forward and axe swing like through the entire first area. And if you're playing optimally, it's really annoying to keep up though.
So I believe that's just a safety strat by picking up the black chain there. Just a little bit of extra defense for Toll, just to kind of mitigate a bit more of that damage as we hit mid to late game.
Yeah, I think mostly specifically for the next boss.
Yeah, the next boss
it helps obviously for the rest of them as well into the mid game.
Next boss is pretty much the run killer. Like you reset a lot here. It used to be a lot worse. Newer strats make it a little better. Oh yeah, so we mentioned before the power-ups. It's pretty important that we get in here with as much of a strength boost as we can. He's currently at the max boost of strength +5, but he didn't get many drops
towards
recently.
The end, yeah.
Basically, whenever you pick up a one of those stat upgrades from an enemy, it resets the timer on it to max. So you want to hopefully get a strength drop from the last enemy before you come in here, but he didn't get one for a while, so he's only going to have that strength boost for a little bit at the start of this fight.
Yeah, so this is Hugo. He's Toll's little brat brother.
Is that a fact, Ghost?
I'll explain that joke later. So I'm going to actually need serious time for this fight because this fight requires more focus than anything else in the run. Despite it being one of the simplest strategies out there.
Can I jump in with some more donations?
Wait a second, please.
Sure.
Ah, darn. Okay, that went fairly well. Losing the strength debuff there really stinks. All right, want to avoid the laser.
Nice.
Watch my health.
Good fight, good fight.
All right. So we're just going to see him teleport off with his friends. They're not really that important in the story, so feel free to go ahead and read a couple of donations.
Awesome. So, Toddy donated $100. Hello from Australia. Toddy here. Always been a fan of this series and stoked to see E's Origin run at a GDQ event. Best of luck to you, Ghost King. Can't wait to see you totally, definitely fight. Oh, I'm going to mispronounce this. I'm so sorry. Klonscar to complete with no tricks whatsoever.
I think I went into his stream once and showed him a trick in this game. At least I'm thinking that's the same person. So that's the story behind that. To briefly explain the fact joke, Toll and Hugo's last name is Fact. There you go. I call Toll the fun fact because Hugo is boring. And so this is Mr. Cutscene himself, Kishgal. He tries so hard to be important to the story of this game, but
he basically just comes in to be edgy and be all like, I want to fight strong opponents. I only care about strong people, and then he leaves. And he does that like 4 times throughout the game.
I matter, and off he goes.
He's just Goku.
So fun little thing about the last fight. There's actually a pretty crazy like IL time attack strat, which we don't see here. Hugo's barrier can inflict the status heavy, which greatly reduces your jump height and movement speed. And as we mentioned earlier, jump attacks do more damage, so you can intentionally get heavied, and that makes all of your jump attacks land because you don't jump past his head. So, but that's a really crazy strat, and it's really unreliable, so you only see that in like time attack runs.
It's actually really good timing you mentioned that regarding, being able to jump higher and move faster. So you'll see wherever possible, Ghost King will basically make use of a skill called wall running. So basically, if you run with a character at the certain angle on the right-hand side, if their right-hand side is against the wall, that basically you get a higher jump, and you'll move faster as well. So wherever possible, Ghost will be moving with a certain angle on the right-hand wall, wherever he's going.
And you can actually skip activating that elevator there by like jumping and Godspeeding off the ledge to the left of it, but it's pretty precise. Ghost King kind of missed the setup, so
Yeah,
just
I had
pushing
it.
the
I had it
elevator.
it ate my input, which happens when you let go of. Okay, I want to equip this.
Oh, yeah.
We picked this up to make sure that we don't drown and progress on
Yep.
in the area. So you can make that jump, but if you let go of the mouse too soon, it won't register a Godspeed input, and you'll just jump attack and look like an idiot.
So yeah, the Water Dragon scales are what we got as a reward for beating Hugo, along with another Claria Ore. Thankfully, unlike the other two characters, Toll just applies new Claria Ore upgrades automatically. It's a really easy way to lose runs on Unica, is to pick up a Claria Ore and then forget to go back to base camp to apply it.
Yep,
because
and we are
it,
never going to let Suki live that one down. So Suki had the world record in Unica any percent for a long time. Shoutouts to Suki Baka. He's helped a lot of people with this community, and learning this game. Helped me a lot and offered a lot of words of encouragement. Great guy.
But yeah, the kind of weird thing about the Water Dragon scales is, yeah, like it gives you extra oxygen for these water segments, which you would not be able to make it through pretty much any of this without it. But for some reason, it isn't just like a passive buff. You have to have the item selected in your item menu, and it's not technically a piece of equipment. It's just an item that passively sits there. So there's actually a bit of a silly kind of trap in that sense, where you can really easily just do something else in your item menu and unselect the Water Dragon scales while you're underwater and almost instantly drown.
Yeah, there's a few things in this game that we call the initiation for new runners of this game, and every new runner will die to drowning at least once, and then they will learn to make sure that they remember the Water Dragon scales.
So right here,
Specifically right here.
yeah, you use the crystal to warp back, and that selects the crystal in the inventory and deselects the Water Dragon scales. So yeah, since we're talking about it, Ghost King's just making sure right now, before he even sees any water, to get those re-equipped. Because, yeah, once you get to the deep water, your oxygen meter will, without those scales equipped, will, deplete in 5 seconds. It's ridiculous. The game even, I think almost everyone dies to this in the casual playthrough. Coming up in the room, there's a chest to the side that has a, what's it called, a
Panacea.
Panacea that gives you a negligible amount of additional health.
Yeah, it gives you 2 extra max HP. So it's pretty common to find it and just go, oh, well, I should just use that right away. And then using it deselects the Water Dragon scales and you just drown. And it's well, okay.
And the amount of air it gives you is actually quite significant. It'll just literally just drop to nothingness as soon as you take it off, or it just disappears so quickly.
Yeah, before we get to the next boss, you might notice he's using a new skill. He picked up in the deep water area, he picked up what's called 11 Strike Warhammer. It gives you access to the Thunder skill. Which in this case, Toll's is a kind of a frontal thrust attack, which does high damage.
Yeah, and that's also why we picked up the Rotafruit a little bit earlier to feed this second Rue. What that will do is get me a Topaz, which you saw me grab an Emerald earlier. Those upgrade our magic spells, and in the case of Thunderclaw, it allows me to charge it and do a sort of giant orb of energy that will suck enemies in and do a lot of area of effect damage.
Yeah, the first gem of every type allows you to use the charged version.
Yeah, gems after that are pretty unnecessary. I'm trying to remember what they even exactly do, because
They just increase the damage.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
all.
So again, skipping those enemies just by getting the clip through the door. This fight is quite an interesting one. So this is our centipede. I can't remember his name out of the top of my head.
Tilgur.
Tilgur. So basically, he will start by crawling on this wall, and we're gonna Ghost's gonna try and use the charged 11 strike to basically just get as much hit as he can on some of the back scales, because he wants to make his way from the front to the back, and then basically finish it off before he gets a chance to do this big skill where he curls into a wheel and then spins to win.
Yep, spin to win, Wheel of Fun.
Yeah.
The ideal situation is what we call a zero spin.
We'll see if we can get it.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, if he starts that spin, then it's pretty RNG, how long it'll take to kill him then, because he'll slow down and turn around multiple times, and
Oh my god,
it's up.
not good.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. So he'll start basically coiling up into the circle when he basically gets towards the end of his 8 feet.
Yeah, here it goes.
So here it goes. We're going to hopefully get to the end of his tail and then defeat him on
Nice.
the head. Perfect.
But But yeah, if you let that attack go on, he'll just roll around the arena for like 10 seconds at a time, and then he'll slow down and turn around. And when he slows down, it's totally up to RNG if his head is anywhere accessible. It can be way at the top where you can't even touch it.
Yeah,
Worst
the head
case,
is the only part you can damage.
yeah,
after you
worst
put the
case, he
seconds
like
there.
rolls around the arena 3 times before finally just uncurling and walking around again, and it wastes like a full minute.
Which is great.
So we got another cutscene here. Feel free to go ahead and read off some donations.
Awesome, I will do exactly that. So, Fuzzy Commando donated $502. This is. Oh, thank you. And they said, this is Fuzzy Commando of the 502 crew. Thanks to these late night warriors providing such excellent commentary on games I've never seen. Shout outs to Panda, Meowth, Letters, Edia, Keladros, and of course, Pixels.
So just a brief note. All of these cutscenes can be advanced by holding down the jump button. So that's, you literally can just put a paperweight on your keyboard and just like go get a cup of tea or something.
I like this. A cup of tea.
All right, so next up is Guilty Fire, which is one of my favorite themes in the game. So let's just listen to the music for a moment, shall we?
Good old
good, yeah.
Scarlet Tempest.
It is really good.
A lot of rocking music in this game.
Another clip here. Normally you have to go to the left and collect the Red Moon Crest, but again, yeah, you guys know the drill by now.
We can just skip the
Walls are
things,
no
yeah.
obstacle for a speedrunner.
And also, the reason we were also able to skip it is because of a different property that the EX version of Toll's playthrough allows. Now, Godspeed, during the EX playthrough, actually has a fire property attached to it, which is very, very strange why they added it. But basically, in this room, you need to normally pick up the I can't remember the name of it.
It's
the Inferno.
Inferno skill.
Lotus
Yeah,
Blade.
it's
Yeah,
actually through
Crimson
that.
Lotus Blade.
Crimson Lotus Blade, yeah, Crimson Lotus,
It's
Lotus
through.
Blade.
Yeah, it's through that door right in this room.
It's also behind a boss.
Yeah. So we skip the boss, we skip the cutscene. It's what, about 5 minutes, I think it is?
7 and a half.
Seven
Lot
and a
of
half,
time.
even
Yeah.
more. But yeah, because we can just use Godspeed, we can light these torches and not need to get the Lotus Blade at all.
Which is really good because the boss you have to fight is Shion. In the earlier days of this run, like and if you do non-EX runs, you have to fight him. And in the early days of this category, he was like the second run killer. He was just as bad as Hugo. I happened to stumble completely accidentally upon a glitch which made fighting him a lot easier. But obviously we won't be seeing that. We will be seeing it in the later boss, though. I won't spoil it. You'll see it when we get there.
It's fun. Oops.
Yeah, it's interesting that this game is actually, with the Toll version, is actually completed without getting access to all the skills. You won't be using the fire skill at all in this run.
Yeah, there are a few other points in which it would be necessary for story purposes. However, because of other glitches, we can get past that. Certain strategies in the normal version of the run require Inferno, but we will be doing alternatives to those. And I think that's kind of what really makes this route really start to differ from regular Toll any percent.
All right, so yeah, coming up here, we're going to have a short cutscene where Toll encounters Unica, who he was supposed to meet like way back in the beginning, but we skipped her through that that barrier clip with that big like black hole portal. So yeah, we're going to save her from the Devil's Corridor.
And we're going to also give her a Lotus Blade, which we never actually picked up.
And also look at a harmonica that we never picked up because both of those are locked behind that boss we were just talking about that we skipped.
Just as like a small lore thing, the Crimson Lotus Blade was the weapon of Unica's father, Tova, General Tova.
Yeah, and Sol Tova was actually, like I said, Toll's mentor. Their first encounter is a little weird. He kind of leads her to believe that he was the one that killed him, that Toll killed Sol, but it's not the case at all. It was actually Kishgal, spoiler warning, which you would know this because if you unlocked Toll, you already played through Unica or Hugo's story and know this.
Yeah, and Toll has like pretty much no reason to lead Unica to believe this. He just does it because.
He does it because he feels like it.
Yeah.
He's a demon, that's why, and demons do bad things.
Oh yeah, so right here, going out of his way to pick up the Ring of Ease. It's not really a firm like time save or loss to grab it. It's an accessory that just reduces MP usage by a little bit.
It makes this game a little bit easier.
Did you really need to make
Yeah,
that
the
point,
Ring
though?
of Ease.
Yeah.
And we're in the Devil's Corridor area. You basically usually take 7, 8, 9 damage a tick or something like that.
So okay, yeah.
But
You're-
with Toll's boost, you actually get like an HP kind of vamp effect where you don't take any. You don't, and you also don't take like any damage in this room.
You were probably wondering why he was bothering with those flashing red enemies, because like we talked about before, you're probably like, hey, but weren't barriers all suggestions? Why are you killing the enemies to lower the barrier? No, that's just so that Godspeed doesn't lock onto them, and they don't get in the way while you're trying to get that barrier clip, because that barrier clip's pretty precise, and if you mess it up a little bit, it actually shoves you through the floor and onto an earlier part of that big spiral ramp, and it's a pretty big time waste.
It ate my Godspeed input there, or my lunge input there. I have to double-click attack and then lunge to make it go off, which is a bit of a finicky setup. I'm taking it safe because wall running is actually hurting me on that little section there. My health is a little bit low right now. That's fine. I'm gonna do a brief little grinding session here. There are not very many of those in this run, which part of that stems from the fact that we do this on the second easiest difficulty in the game, which is entirely because, first of all, initially this game had an online leaderboard that didn't have the easiest difficulty setting, and the easiest difficulty setting is called Very Easy, and you basically run that if you want to get a feel for the game, but this is where things actually start being a little bit difficult because we neglect as much as possible in terms of levels and equipment in this category.
So yeah, thankfully this little side room where there's like 5 pretty high-level enemies exist, so we're just going to be walking in and out of this room to grind up experience for a bit. Might be a good time for like a donation.
Absolutely. So Oliver139 donated $10. Thanks for running Ys Origin, my favorite childhood game. This is my first Ys game that I played. Good luck to the runner and looking forward to more Ys games in the future.
So we want to get specifically to 175 here. As I did mention difficulty, a few runners do run on higher difficulties. The main one I'd mention is Losty. He's the Japanese runner who I believe is currently hosting the Japanese restream for this game, so shoutouts to him. He is insane and way better than I will ever be at this video game.
Okay.
Watch his. If you think anything I'm doing here is impressive, watch his runs. It is just your mouth will hit the floor.
So yeah, we're coming up on the Guilty Fire boss here, Delaldi. As long as he executes correctly, this fight is 100% consistent. There's no RNG to it. But if he ever misses a cycle, then all bets are off. The attacks we'll see will be random. Some of them waste tons of time. So here's hoping that we don't miss any cycles.
Yeah, so we're looking to knock one hand off, does another attack, knocks the other hand off. He's going to come down with his head and bring a little bit of damage there.
Another thing you'll see me doing is I'm kind of trying to lure him to the back end of the room, and this is so when the fight ends, I'll be closer to the door to the next area.
There's also like a pretty crazy like IL strat that lets you complete the fight in fewer cycles, but it's not really viable in a run. It involves some really screwy detection, like hit detection.
Yeah, it's doable on regular Toll when you have charged Inferno, but you don't have that here, so it's much trickier and not really worth going for in a run, because you save 6 seconds if you get it and you lose about 25 if you don't.
Being in the lava means you take damage, but because Ghost here is just not taking any damage at all or any hits and being quite solid here, he'll just kind of just tank that and just do his best to get rid of the hands.
I have a lot of spare health here, so I can just take hits willy-nilly. Normally this fight, I am at much lower health, which is actually ideal because boost recovers more when you're at lower HP points.
And yeah, this should be it right here. Yeah, there we go. Perfect fight. But yeah, if you ever miss any cycles, there's a few attacks you can do. There's a huge hand sweep where you just have to wait for him to like sweep around the entire arena. There's
That was the better one.
Yeah, and then there's this satellite laser attack where he just like sits in the middle and like lasers shoot at random platforms for like 20
That
seconds.
attack goes on for a long time.
But yeah, thankfully not seeing any of those. So yeah, we're coming up on the Silent Sands here after another brief encounter with Unica again.
Yeah, don't forget to get the Rotafruit.
I won't. That'll be part of the incentive. So this is the first time we're actually speaking with Unica in this particular run. There's a bit of a cutscene here where she talks to him and says, "Thank you for saving me." And Total's like, "No, I'm evil." And she's like, "You can't be evil. You're a good guy." And this is sort of the point in the story. It's actually a really charming little story. It's not particularly fleshed out, but it doesn't need to be. It carries the game along. We're only giving you the Cliff Notes version of it, and a lot ends up being skipped, so it's really hard to contextualize. But anyway, so she thanks him for saving him, and this is sort of the point where he kind of feels a change in his heart. But there's still a little bit more cutscene, and then there's going to be a fairly long cutscene afterwards. So if we got any donations or plugs, feel free.
We definitely do. Korzik donated $20. Nice to see some ease love. Good luck with the run, Ghost King.
Shout out to Korzik. He was one of the original routers of this game a long time ago in the SDA days of 2012.
And Squishy Flan donated $200. Having grown up on Ys 3 for the SNES and only recently started playing the other Ys, I'm excited for the Ys Origin speedrun so that others can enjoy the hidden gem of an RPG. Please show that not all protagonists need blue hair. Now, where's Adol?
Not
Not in
born
this game.
yet.
He is he is a bonus character that you can unlock by getting enough SP in the arcade shop.
But if you do like that all, Ys Oath and Felghana is also on Steam and is a remake of Ys 3.
Yeah, these games,
Very good game, too.
there are 4 games in this series, technically 5 on Steam, and soon to be Ys 8, which
Can't wait for.
I can't wait for. It's a bit of a different style. I liken it more to Kingdom Hearts meets God of War. But yeah, I love this series of games. They're some of the most fun I've ever had playing an action RPG, and again, this is the game that inspired me to really pick up speedrunning. I was back in 2013, I found this community, and I was, like many people, just wondering what I wanted to run for a very long time. And I came across this game when I was watching a marathon called Scrubathon, run by a good pal of ours and Bowie's by the name of El Megas. And so the runner was a guy by the name of Crush Dude Run, or he just goes by Crush now. And I thought this game looked amazing and fascinating, and I really wanted to pick it up and show it off in a marathon setting, because I figured I hadn't seen anyone do it, and I figured maybe I'll learn it and be the guy to do so. So I'm actually really honored to be able to do that tonight. You got another moment for donation, by the way.
Yep, perfect. Alrighty. Delphi143 donated $20 saying, "Good luck, Ghost King, naming Robo Ernst because we love Robo Battles."
We love Robo Battles. Shout out to the custom Robo speedrunning community.
Okay,
we did it.
First time.
I had way more trouble in practice with that than I care to admit.
So this room has that whole sandy area down there is quicksand. It really slows your movement speed down and reduces your jump height. But more importantly, falling into that will spawn a bunch of enemies, and he needs to be able to do an unlocked, Godspeed, and with enemies around, Godspeed's just going to lock onto those guys and screw up that barrier clip.
This trick is pixel perfect, so I use a Windows accessibility function called mouse keys to make this work. This is a different monitor than I'm used to, so I have to kind of do this on the fly. This is a little finicky and not super perfect.
Yeah.
Hopefully I get this.
Yeah, just as kind of an aside, allow me my old man moment here, but back in my day when we speedrun this, we didn't think clipping through doors in the Silent Sands was possible.
All right, backup strats worked.
Because those giant door frames that surround every door in here make clipping a lot harder. The setups you're going to see in here are, a lot more precise than in most other areas of the game. That was actually at the time I was running, it was kind of the holy grail of Ys Origin toll runs to find a way to clip through Silent Sands doors, and I happened upon some ways to do it, and I was kind of that's it. We've found all the speed tech for this game.
Oh man, you counted your chickens way too fast.
Oh boy, I was proven so wrong.
And you saw even there, he was dealing a lot of ones to those enemies.
Reminder of the
Just
Rhoda
showing
fruit,
that
by the way.
Yeah,
Just
so we're going to
showing
take
how
a
much defense
detour
those guys
here.
have.
Yeah, this is for the donation incentive. We need another Rhoda fruit to unlock burst later in the game.
And this is the easiest one to go for.
Yeah. And
Right
so
in the way.
we do obviously have the quicksand earlier that obviously just slows you down and it's hard to move in, but there is another type of sand that we're going to be seeing in the later half of the Silent Sands.
Yeah.
And that's it's kind of akin to the blood that kind of makes you slide. So you kind of have this weird sliding property
it's
with
like
the
ice physics,
with the
basically.
sands.
Ice physics in sands, because there's no ice in this game.
Yeah, why not?
So
But
why not?
it is really cool though. You can get some great distance.
So here we're going to actually make use of the one of two instances in this category where we actually use the downward thrust. So there are 4 basic types of attacks. ground combos, an aerial attack, a lunge, and then a downward thrust. This will stun enemies, but more importantly, this allowed me to group all these guys together. So 1, 2, and dead.
Nice. Yeah, more specifically, when you're in the air, there's 2 attacks that you can do. The normal air attacks that he likes to use all the time are attacks that can be used when the character is ascending. The other one, the down stab, happens anytime you attack while the character's descending back to the ground.
So these guys are undead, so they come back to life, and they need a special way to take care of them. And hey, there's Rhea with the Black Pearl. I have not touched on what the Black Pearl is. It basically allows you to become a pirate of the Caribbean.
And what does it do in the real story?
It's basically a dark, powerful MacGuffin of extreme dark magic. And she is basically protecting it from the hands of Zava and a character you saw earlier, but we haven't really talked much about, by the name of Dallas. But the 2 of them are sort of the big bads of this game. So to kind of really touch on these 2 characters here, Rhea and Toll have a bit of a star-crossed lovers relationship going on, where they're 2 clearly madly in love beings, and Toll is just kind of showing off here, like, I've become a demon. I am not your guardian
Look at my
anymore.
red text.
Look at my red text.
Red text.
But at this point, she just says, you know, they're still good inside you, you know.
Kind of small
It's
little
been so
thing.
long since I've seen the cutscenes in this game. So she gives us the silver chimes, which allows us to kill undead. I won't be using that in this area, even though the game normally requires it, but I will be using it for one Toll EX specific thing later in the run. So because Toll, you know, can't hurt his lover, he decides not to take her to his sort of master. I mean, it's complicated.
Just a kind of quick point out as well that yes, the item acquisition theme does sound peculiarly like a Metroid item acquisition theme.
They have both been that way for over 30 years, and nothing is changing.
It was, I guess, it was literally because I think this came out before Metroid as well. It's one of those things that it just
Slightly after.
I'll
but-
say after. It was a case of like they just both happen that way, and no one said a word about it, and we've just continued from there. So that was there. If you kind of jump into certain corners, you actually get a higher jump there.
That's
it
the
has,
wall
it has some
running
of the
we were
similar
talking
properties of wall running.
Yeah, jumping into corners lets you get additional height, additional fall speed, and all sorts of stuff.
But look, Ghost King, can you give us a few words about these enemies that are on the floor here?
So these are scarabs. They suck. That's all I need to say about them. You have you have very few iframes, invincibility frames, for those unaware, when you get hit by them. So they can just combo you to death, and it is brutal. And
They hit like trucks too.
yes.
I think that's really what takes the cake there. Like, not only do they hit you a billion times a second, but they hit you by a billion.
I think they hit you for
billion
like
times a second.
26 or 28 damage or something like that.
Yeah, it's worth noting that this game really doesn't have much by way of iframes. Like, there's like just a very brief, you know, like stun animation that you can't take damage
you
for,
just
and
kinda
as soon
recoil a little
as
bit.
soon as you regain control, you're pretty much eligible to take damage again. So it's really easy for damage to stack up really quickly.
This next skip here used to be fairly pixel perfect. I couldn't find the old setup, so I found my own. And everyone kind of has their own little way of doing this. My mouse sensitivity is a little high, so hopefully I can get this. Okay. I have backup strats if need be.
Yeah,
and we got
nice.
second try. Nice.
So yeah, that clipping through that door skips an utterly pointless side trip to the to Rado's Annex, where
It's
you
not
just
pointless. You see Fina there. And
Yeah.
therefore-
It's true.
it's pointless if you don't care about the story, which you know, in this case we're speedrunning, and obviously we don't.
So we flipped through barriers, we flipped through doors. Now let's flip through walls. Inward pointing corners can be flipped through. This was again found.
nice.
This was again
pretty
found
quick.
by Alactorn. I haven't really mentioned a lot of the people who have helped find some of the tricks in this game. Spoody found them years back. Korzik found a lot of them. A runner by the name of Extreme Board found them, and most recently, a lot of the god lunging strats were found by Telly Yanis, a Finnish speedrunner, a really cool guy.
So here's that awful slippery physics we were talking about. It's really easy to fall off that ramp while you're there.
All right,
This
I'm
is
gonna
cool.
actually reload this room just because I want to show this off.
This is very cool.
Nice.
There we go.
Yeah, nice.
So the ice physics on this
Ice physics on the sand.
Ice physics. It's not really ice physics. It's just it's a lack of momentum loss. So just, if it were real ice, you wouldn't be able to accelerate on it because you can never get any traction. But in this case,
First
Okay,
try.
you
Wow.
Okay,
you can
who's-
continue accelerating infinitely.
All right,
I'll
I'll
apply for
explain this
in a
in
second.
just a second.
Nice.
All right, so I just jumped over a boss trigger because the developers of this game didn't give it a infinite upwards value. That was found by a speedrunner from a long time ago by the name of, it goes by the name of Taiga Lily, and it allows us to skip boss triggers. We can actually skip 2 of them this way on Toel, and with different skips in the normal updated Steam version of the game, you can skip a 3rd one on Unica. I should mention that this is the Steam English version. The Japanese version saves time, but the Western community generally runs English. There's also an unpatched version of this game, which has an infinite jump trick that's
Oh, yeah,
really
that
hard to
one-
pull off.
That one's
and
really cool looking.
It's cool looking once, but you skip just about everything.
Yeah, it's not particularly entertaining to run.
You just like
the,
jump over all the walls.
Yeah, that infinite jump glitch completely dominates the runs. I don't think anyone really actively runs it.
Yeah, so that boss that we skipped is annoying. I would have to grind up for him. He takes like 5 cycles to kill. There's a lot of conveyor belt physics with the sand that he's pulling you in. And he does a lot of damage because I only have armor from the second area of the game. In a normal 80% run, I would not be grabbing that armor, so I'm basically almost defenseless. And this is where enemies really start racking up the damage. So I will pick up some armor here just out of necessity.
Yeah, that boss has no way to skip cycles, and there's like 2 parts to each phase, and each phase is longer than the last one. So it's just a giant pain to fight.
This first room's a pretty big pain in the butt. Those like sliding bars, spike bars, that you can take damage from them, and not just from getting hit, like getting skewered by the points.
Yeah, you just walk into the sides of them when
like,
they're up.
as Ghost King kind of just demonstrated there, getting knocked down by the sides of the bars. It's really annoying, and like you can accidentally wall run a bit and like get a little extra distance than you expected, and just walk right into the bars and take damage and have to wait for that get up animation.
Fortunately, the enemies in this area get a lot of experience, so you're going to see a lot of level ups really quickly in this area in a few places.
Yeah, Charged Thunderclaw kills large swarms of them all at once, and they all give pretty decent experience on their own. So,
And
The
remember,
other
and
thing
remember-
is the boosted Charged Thunderclaw actually has a gravity wall effect too, so it will pull enemies into the center, and obviously makes it easier to kill enemies that are just slightly spread out.
This jump's a little bit tricky, and I missed it entirely. Okay.
there you go.
nice.
That's
It's okay if I slam into it. Well, I gotta wait for the second one here. This one's the harder one.
This is the one where you can take damage, right?
Yep.
yeah, thankfully, as long as he kind of like keeps smashing Godspeed, he
You
won't
need to
actually take
die.
damage from these spikes.
Yeah.
It's kind of one of the peculiar properties of Godspeed. You can see he's still at full health.
So now I'm losing
There we go.
time.
There we
but
go.
This trick looks cool, but if you mess it up once, you break even with just doing the
Yeah.
intended strat. And
there's
anytime
a-
after that,
It's worth noting that the
button's about 5 feet away from where he started.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just to save, like, it kind of does a little cutscene where the camera pans over the spikes and shows them lowering very slowly. And it's like, hey, look, you want to go this way? But even then, the button is so close that it only saves time to do those clips if you get it in the first couple tries.
This is the. Oh, what the? I
Okay.
was not holding down.
Haven't
there.
seen this room in a while.
I was not holding down
You-
there. I don't know how that
He
happened.
was literally just in the middle of saying that this is the easiest door to clip through as he dashes the wrong way and fails
I
to clip through the
think
door.
I locked onto something.
So
I
this door
didn't
skips
know that was possible.
like probably one of the worst rooms in the game, casually and speedrunning wise. There's a room with some red enemies that you have to kill in order to get the key. They do a ton of damage. They have way too much health, and it's basically impossible to get them together to deal damage to them multiple at a time.
This coming up is one of the rooms that really exemplifies what I really like about this game, and that is there is a ton of different types of strats. Before I do that, because I don't feel like if I could die really easily, so I'm just going to set up a death warp point, which is
Yeah, that
any
room that you
room with a
just went into.
any room with a save relic in it. If I end up dying, I'll warp there. I take a lot of damage right now, and a couple of these screens I have died in runs.
Okay, so these are what I like to call pool party strats. You're kind of under-leveled at this point, So you can see all of his attacks are doing 1 damage, but if you just get them to take a swim in the poison lake here, that does tons of damage to them and kills them really easily. This room's kind of out of the way to the side, but it contains a Cleria ore, which, as we've mentioned before, any levels and weapon upgrades are absolutely essential because like 2 points of strength can mean like doubling your damage against bosses.
It becomes basically impossible to defeat bosses if you don't have all the Clarion Ore upgrades, especially at the end of the game.
This skip used to be a real pain in the neck, but with God Lunge, it's basically free. So we're going to take a little detour here.
And we're finally going to pick up a little bit of armor.
Yep.
Yeah, because we're still pretty much on starting armor.
Yeah,
other
we're,
than
we're
that,
on tier 1 boots and tier 2 armor.
Tier
We're gonna pick
0. We haven't even picked up
Oh, no,
boots.
yeah, so you don't start with one in this game.
Yeah, just tier 2 armor, which is barely better than tier 1 armor.
Yeah,
But
we're going to pick up tier 5 boots here.
yeah, basically there's one set of armor and boots for in every zone. Obviously increasing in stats.
Oh,
Yeah,
shoot.
the
I did not
tiers-
equip that.
Yeah,
I am-
The tier 6 ones have like a special effect kind of buff to them, but we're not going to be getting those because they're a little bit out of the way. And one of them requires an extra Rotifruit actually to get from one of the roofs in the lighter areas.
So yeah, at this point, yeah, finally we'll be reducing the damage to more reasonable levels. Again, easy difficulty means you can get away with skipping armor for most of the run, and still be able to survive most encounters. But yeah, this is where it starts to get overwhelming. So
Yeah, most East games and a lot of, I think all the East games on Steam, all the speedruns will get very minimal armor in the beginning, and we'll pick up like the tier 5 armor is typically the most common one to end up picking up towards the end of the game.
And this room just really feels nice because you go up like 4 levels, I think it is. There's just a lot of levels going on here. A kind of small caveat to leveling up, and also what's kind of nice, and you don't always have to be as afraid of things, is you do get a full HP restore from every single level up. So if you do kind of find yourself on low HP, but you are quite near a level, we can just keep going, and it kind of mitigates the need to go and heal sometimes. It's quite nice.
But yeah, the frequency of level ups, I think, kind of, demonstrates how underleveled we are at this point in the run, because we just catapult up levels. The game actually gives you bonus experience if you kill enemies that are significantly higher level than you, so there's a lot of that in play, too.
Plus
Should
we
also-
have final times too as well.
I should also point out there are no actual healing items in this game. As soon as you touch them on the ground, they heal you, is how it works. So you can't store healing items, and you can't heal during bosses.
Can you use toll when you use the boost though? Does that work? on bosses?
You can.
Thunderclaw, while on boost, does
Yeah.
drain a little bit of HP, but it's generally pretty negligible.
Yeah, so this trick, I'm going to focus here because this is really precise, and I've never gotten this in a marathon. I get one shot at it.
That was
So
close.
close.
That was close.
You can jump over the trigger here. It's really difficult to do so. So this is a big.
Fortunately, the boss is pretty short. So
Yeah, this is a big old bug. Rawr.
let's just pick the most.
I discovered the trick to skipping him around the same time that another runner by the name of Felvisage found it. Although I ended up reporting it first.
It doesn't have to do
So
it,
take joint credit on that one. And
This skip
shout
is
outs to
possible
Fel.
on all characters as well, right?
Yeah, Hugo has the hardest. World record for Hugo normal any percent, I think, has got it his third try. Which shoutouts to Dragon Dark, a GDQ attendee who picked up this game and was the first person to actually submit Hugo to the leaderboards on the English leaderboards. Wow, I'm really low on health. And we all called him crazy, but this is a man who runs games like Draken for the Super Nintendo, so I think we all knew this.
So just a quick thing as well. This boss also has the kind of healing properties where when there are mobs on the floor, you can he can heal. So you want to kind of just get him down in one small heal zone and then finish him off.
Unfortunately,
on
it's
that cycle.
basically impossible not to have him heal.
Yeah, there are some ways in other categories and such to actually kill him completely before he even lets out those extra mobs and skip the heal cycle altogether. But in this category, it's not really viable.
So we have about a 3.5 minute long cutscene here. I should note that it is slightly faster to mash through cutscenes even when you're holding down the jump button. Lost V again found this and found like this cutscene you can save up to about 2 seconds. But what's basically going to go down here is we're going to talk to Rhea again, and then bad stuff is going to happen. You can probably piece together just by the animation. So feel free to read a couple more donations.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, Shawnee7188 donated $30. Greetings from Canada. Donated to finally get Ghost King Senpai to notice me, and this donation goes to his choice. But thanks for all the support and helping me learn to speedrun. And shout outs to Custom Robo BR speedrunning crew. Love you all. We love Robo Battles.
Thank you, Shawnee.
And Sandarkin donated $10. As a huge fan of Nyan Falcom Games, I am super excited to see a Ease title at a GDQ event. Many thanks to Ghost King, all the GDQ staff, and the tech crew for making this happen and putting on a great event. And Maddie donated $30. I had to donate during the Ease run, one of my all-time favorite games. Glad to see it crushed.
As a quick note, in a previous cutscene, Dallas, the Dark Sorcerer over there, basically came up and tempted our naive little brother with a lot of power, and he bought it like the sucker that he is. So now he is attacking us with enhanced dark magic, and if you thought his boss fight was annoying, he's especially annoying in this cutscene when our ability to use the to actually control our character is not there. And they take the goddess who does not teleport away. I don't know why.
Even the power of our red text can't save us from this beatdown.
We still got a bit to go. Feel free read off any more donations or
Yeah,
give me plugs.
definitely. Alrighty, well, Argot Lamb 160 donated $25. I was trying to put together an SNES Ease 3 speedrun, so it's nice to see the Ease game getting some love. Hope to bring one of the classics next year. I call first dibs. This goes to Ghost Choice.
Yeah, so thankfully, in stereotypical evil cackling villain fashion, he's like, I'm not gonna kill you. It's gonna be way more fun to just watch you struggle and crawl up with your broken body. And it's like,
We're broken in a different way. Let's put it that way. So Shion, the man that we, in an alternate dimension, let's just say, got into a battle and nearly killed, decides to come in and cure us because now we've reached rock bottom. Our woman is taken, the bad guys have the Black Pearl, and we just decided we want to be good guys again. So he gives you this Lila shell, which is allows you to contact the these other characters. On other on Unica or Hugo's story, it lets you talk to NPCs to give you an idea for directions. But by the time you've unlocked Toll, you kind of know how to play this game already. So it's just a nice gesture.
And yeah, so now we're heading into the final area of the game, the Demonic Core.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot more NPC type bosses in this area, and you're gonna notice just like how Ghost King can use boost, a lot of the NPC bosses will also have like a boost phase which activates about halfway through their health bar, and they'll get similar effects. They'll take a lot of reduced damage.
So going to be doing a little bit of grinding along the way. Those little purple slimes are an excellent source of experience. Not only do they give a decent amount of experience on their own, but they have a tendency to split into multiple slimes.
Yeah, the purple ones tend to split a lot, which makes them really good for grinding a lot of experience at once.
I actually tend to, I actually should be ignoring them. I only want to fight the wave at the very end. So we're going to take a little detour here from the normal route. It's a little hard to make this jump, but this is where we will unlock the burst, which the description for it listed it as a Kamehameha. I compare it because that's the most obvious Dragon Ball reference, but if you're a little bit more into Dragon Ball, it's a bit more like a, what do you call it, Bowie?
A Gallic gun.
Thank you for that.
Sorry, it's okay. Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it's got a purple beam and it's a bit more ferocious than just a regular kind of like line beam that, you know, the Kamehameha tends to be.
I mean, this game is anime enough.
Yeah.
Let's make it more anime.
So, of course, when we do cast it to show it off, we do have a duty
Oh,
to
yeah,
the
we
viewers.
have to say the thing, right? I don't even know what this is for, but I'll say it anyway.
All right, I'll give you the countdown.
Well, are we doing G or Gallic?
So, okay, yeah,
Gee.
despite the boot pickup in the earlier zone, we're still taking a little bit more damage than we like. So grab this, the best armor in the game, going up from tier 1 to tier 6 body armor. Now, pretty much everything does laughably low damage again, because, again, combination of having up-to-date gear and it being easy difficulty where everything's pretty low damage.
Yeah, this fight, if you're not careful on EX, can still kill you at 260. It's hilarious, actually. He can kill you fairly easy at 278, and I have had many PBs in the early days of me running this game, which was about 2 months ago.
So
I should
Running
know.
this
The
category,
cool
I
guy
should
finally
say.
gets some camera time and tries to fight us. And
Yeah,
that's cool and
Kishkol's
stuff.
last effort to be relevant to the storyline right here.
Yeah, so if you do this at 278, there's a very real possibility he will kill you. If you do this at 284, you can face tank him.
Just to specify, when Ghost is mentioning 278 to 284, he's talking about the health value because rather than level number, because
Yeah.
it's easier to know what level you are by based on your HP value rather than your actual level, because it's not available on
Yeah,
the
it's not
overall.
actually listed on the screen. Like
Yeah,
it is
it's
some
only
other
in
games.
it's only in the pause menu, which incidentally you can't even access during boss fights. So you really, if you're playing this, you want to make sure you have everything you want equipped before you go into a boss fight, because you
Alrighty,
can't
Bo,
change
are
it
you ready?
mid-fight.
3, 2, 1.
G-Fire! Anyone who watched RPG Limit Break 2016, you will get the reference. Ghost Wheel did a very good Radiant Historia run.
I love that game.
Yes, very good.
Unfortunately, due to so much of the sound effects, you don't get to hear the really awesome boss music that you get in this area when you fight all the NPC bosses.
We'll get that in the next fight.
Yeah, this boss can be kind of annoying. Just like leave these icicles up all over the arena. That'll knock you down if you walk into them. But still, generally, you just kind of, as we're seeing right here, Ghost King just kind of walking right into
A
him.
nice finish.
Kishkol tries to do a lot of crowd control, but he forgets that crowd control is not a solo strat. So
It does make this fight very annoying on Nightmare. If I had to pick one boss fight that gave me a lot of trouble on Nightmare, it was this one.
ice
Oh,
bosses
yeah.
are always a pain on Nightmare.
I think I just tried a speedrun on Nightmare just to see how it would go, and I think I spent like 4 hours on this fight. It's pretty rough on Nightmare.
So we acquired the Rod, which is very
very descriptive name, isn't it?
very descriptive. It's a reference to East 1, which is, again, you get an item called Rod because this was like a 1987
Yeah, it's a really
RPG.
old game.
And it lets you go through mirrors, which we need to progress through the story. So Kishkol is going to try and attack us because Toll just says, I'm a human, I don't need to kill you. And Kishkol gets really upset. So, yeah, she can kind of do this.
Phoenix Flyer.
That was so unenthusiastic.
Unica's really cool, I will just say. She's really awesome.
Yeah, she gets a sword that shoots phoenixes.
Hey, look, it's
what
like-
more could you ask for?
Who's that character second on the left?
I don't know. Tsuki, if you're watching this, who is that character and what's he doing alive?
He hasn't died yet at the other story.
Spoilers. Just I will note that what they're referencing is actually a really, really good cutscene in Unica's story, and it kind of like is the start of perhaps the most like emotional kind of thing in this game. And when we're talking about how great the soundtrack in this game is. The final area just after what our next area is going to be the Hall of Reflection. The final area, we kind of go back into the demonic core, has this track called Beyond the Beginning, which is a fantastic, fantastic track. I cannot stress just how brilliant it is. But after the cutscene in which Roy and Unica have a little bit of a heart-to-heart, that music starts, and it was at that point at 3 in the morning when I was like, I'll just do this last boss fight and go to bed. That music kicked in, and I was like, I'm not finishing until I complete this game. And
So
it really was amazing.
That's pretty reasonable.
thankfully, Ghost managed to avoid getting hit by those like kind of dancer enemies in the previous area.
Yeah,
Because,
we're gonna clip into the wall.
ooh, nice. That was good.
First time as well, yeah.
It took a little while to set up.
But-
I found that one by accident on stream, and then Telly Yenis found a consistent strat, which I found my own setup for, but he found out a consistent way to do it, which again, corners you can
I believe
clip
that is.
out of.
I believe that is only possible again in EX mode as well.
No, it's possible in any
Is it
in
really?
either Toll run.
I thought it needed God Lunge, but
God Lunge is not exclusive to Toll EX, actually. You can do it with either. That was found by Lost V, and we were just like, how do we not figure this out, that this is the fastest form of movement? So I'm going to do this, not because I have to, but because I think it's funny. Not the running into the side there. There we go. I hope they got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's attempting to activate the invulnerability glitch.
Yeah, so what Spoody was alluding to earlier with the Xion fight is if you enter a fight, certain fights with Godspeed at the right position, Toll will have that brief moment of no hit detection when he enters the fight. And what this means is, so long as we don't use Godspeed, we cannot take any form of damage. This fight's a little weird because you can actually regain hit detection, and we don't really go for it in runs because ideally you never get stuck and you're just constantly wailing on Zava for this entire boss fight.
Yeah, so Zava is quite interesting. So she will basically summon right now these two massive heads, one of fire property, one of ice property. So they'll be like moving around the battlefield and the arena, kind of like trying to aggro you and annoy you, and you'll be kind of like focusing your attacks on Zava. At some point when you do enough damage, you'll basically go into one of the two heads and then swap between the two, and the one that she's in is the one you want to hit.
Hey,
so
it's Bowie's face in the morning.
Brilliant, cheers. It's close
Hey, that
enough.
was your joke,
Wow,
not
he's a
mine.
guy.
It's close. I think I said that at one point, yeah. So yeah, you want to basically wail on her as much as possible, bring her down by using an aerial attack, and then again just hammering away. And then at this point, well, when you do a bit more damage, I believe it's like 25% again. She'll go inside one of the heads, like so, and then you want to attack that one, and then it will basically switch to the other one at certain points. Then you want to switch between the two, deal enough damage to bring her back out, and then deal some more damage, and then she'll go back in.
Yeah,
So
that
you
was
see those little floating orbs around the head.
You want to keep her from,
Indicates the amount of time you have to attack the
getting
heads.
up right there.
Yeah, there was decent RNG on that on the head phase there. Sometimes
Ooh,
the heads
nice.
just kind of move randomly, so sometimes
Nice,
they'll be on
nice.
on the complete opposite sides of the arena from each other, and you just have to spend like 2 seconds running back and forth between the heads.
I have neglected to mention almost all of the bosses in this game are characters in East 1 or 2. So those two heads are in East 1, and they're one of the most annoying bosses. Again,
Oh,
fought in
yeah.
the Hall of Reflection because the tower in this game is the final dungeon of East 1, and it's about a third of the game.
Okay, I'll bring it up now. That this is the final cutscene before Beyond the Beginning, the final track.
So let's
starts.
take a moment to be quiet because I really
It
like that.
is.
Yeah, it's a
song.
really, really great theme.
Yeah, as far as the next area is concerned, there's not a whole lot to talk about. It's mostly just running through
Zava had red text too.
running through some areas. There's some new enemies that have this annoying black hole property attack that they'll pull you in and slow you down. There's some enemies that drop slippery blood, which you can Godspeed onto to get kind of a speed boost. But
Love to be able to one-hit those enemies.
So this is the one of the knights who have basically been trying to make their way up the tower to save the goddesses on the good side of the narrative.
He's
And
actually
they're-
the first boss that we skipped.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
Don't even see him until this cutscene.
Yeah. So now they're going to help Demon Toll, who's now obviously decided to be a goodie.
So they're gonna stall for time, and we're gonna just kind of be all cool like and just jump over her. Also cool music. Be quiet here for just a moment. I apologize for the thunder cracking. It's just kind of a necessity with God Lunge. All right, I got the slide.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah.
So going a little out of his way here to hit this button. It's possible to clear that gap without those platforms, but it's really difficult without the Inferno skill, which we skipped back in Guilty Fire.
So again, getting the corner jump as well to get that extra height, just to kind of get up that ledge really, really quickly rather than going round and up.
Yeah, otherwise you got to go like to the left and through this whole other sequence where you got to push another button to activate a platform, and it's slow.
So this next room had one of the more interesting skips of the early route of the game. Since we don't kill these guys because we can just bypass the barrier, we have a different way of going about it, but I think it's one of the funnier and jankier skips in the game. So it turns out they didn't really program much behind this wall, but you can get behind it. And okay, this is going to be the slower strat.
Yeah, you can clip directly behind the door from that other position.
Yeah,
There we
that's
go.
Nice.
So we're going to activate the invulnerability glitch here. This is the one other instance where we consistently want to do this, along with the Xion fight. Again, the Zava fight is not necessary. I found that one by accident, doing exactly what Spoody did, just Godspeeding into the cutscene and just being like, wait, I didn't take any damage that fight.
Yeah, it was complete accident. Like when we were running I was running non-EX, at which you have to fight Shion in, and I'm just fighting him normally, and I'm like, I feel like I should have taken damage there. Maybe the hitboxes are just smaller than I thought. And then like right near the end of the fight, I full on like face tank a hit, and nothing happens. I'm like, okay,
That works,
so how was I just like was invulnerable for that fight? What did I do?
So this fight is sweet, sweet catharsis. There's no other word for it.
Yeah, Hugo one being one of the biggest jerks in the run earlier on, and now you're
One
just
of the hardest,
invincible.
yeah, one of
for
the
this
hardest
fight.
fights to learn to run with this game.
So you just rush in and wail on him. You don't have to care for any of this, this bullet hell going on.
Just a little interesting lore thing. You'll notice that Hugo uses a lot of magic type attacks. The Fact family is actually a very powerful magician family, and Toll's kind of a little bit of an outcast because he's not like a magic. He doesn't have like an affinity for magic or anything like that.
Yeah, just an affinity for ignoring doors.
I was kind of hoping to stall there so I could get a full EX, but then I realized I was probably going to lose combo.
Yeah, you'll know we went from 319 to 348.
Yeah, again,
HP on
having
that.
max EXP combo during these bosses makes them...
4 levels, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, the game actually kind of encourages you to be really aggressive against bosses, because if you don't hit them for too long, then you drop your hit combo, and you're not going to be getting double experience off of them, which you do with a max hit combo. So it's, yeah, this fight is, especially with invulnerability, it's very much just rush in and hit phase.
Yeah, I like this cutscene because it's kind of the first time when Hugo acknowledges that his older brother is his own person, because he thinks like his older brother is supposed to be, the successor to the family, and he abandoned that, and now Hugo's just like, why would you do this? And so this is the first time in years that instead of calling him a traitor or, like calling him by name, the first time he's called him brother. So this is the Goddess Ring. It's an important accessory that I need to remember to equip. And it gives me a little bit of strength and defense bonus, which will make the last few fights, like, if I equip it, the fights are almost... The difficulty in them is completing them fast, not completing them at all, per se. And without it, it can actually be a bit of a struggle. On other characters, it does different things. Like you get a late game accessory that gives you
An
one
extra
full
life, basically,
extra
yeah.
life.
But yeah, again, worth noting, that the stat calculations and like damage calculations in this game are a little wonky. If you saw it briefly on the stat screen, all it gives you is +5 strength and +5 defense, which seems pretty menial compared to the the huge amount of stats he's boasting at this late into the game at such a high level. But those 5 points of strength easily cut out like several minutes from these fights.
Another thing is the Goddess Ring actually has the same property as Ring of Ease. Yenis pointed this out to me once, and I was like, how did I never notice this?
I never noticed that either. That's
So this is Dallas. He, we betrayed him, so he took our woman from us.
And we're finally, I think, for the first time, going to see Fina on screen.
Next fight, because unlike other characters...
Oh, it's not like I couldn't remember. I hadn't done this game in a
Unlike
while,
other
so.
characters, Toll has 2 final bosses, and hence he is actually the canon ending of the game. The other 2 characters have slightly different events in their stories.
Yeah, the extra final boss kind of makes up for the fact that he doesn't get a boss in Rado's Annex back in Silent Sands, which we skipped that area entirely, so you didn't even see the lack of boss. But
It's
yeah.
a cool boss fight, too. Good music. Whirlwinds are cool.
So using what little magic power she has, because that barrier seals most of her magic power, she basically just gives Toll some words of encouragement. They can do a little bit to like teleport things through there, but he's just like, hey, I'm gonna use the Goddess Ring and break this barrier. So now we have a fairly annoying boss fight.
Yeah, so this boss fight, assumes that you have all 3 skills: the wind, the electric, and the fire. Godspeed, Thunderclaw, and Inferno in this case. But obviously, again, we skipped Inferno because the wind spell has fire properties. But the thing is, it doesn't do much damage. And phase 2 here, he cycles through a few barriers. I believe it's first the wind barrier, then the fire barrier, then the electric barrier. And we can't really do much to break the fire barrier very quickly. So Ghost King here is going to be doing something to try and just bypass it altogether.
First phase is fairly
Very
straightforward,
easy.
though. Yeah, just kind of got a bullet
Hold
hell
on
your
to
way
the
through it.
Shihime-sama.
Doing these jump attacks again because they do more damage, and then straight into the second phase. So here's the barriers. This is the Godspeed one. Just going through it, you can see the barrier HP go down, then the barrier disappears.
You also see the boss HP go down because he's actually getting through the barrier a little bit with his hits.
So here's the fire one, and you'll see every now and then it will just say 72, or I think it's about 72.
Yeah, 71, 72 there.
That's basically where he's using the Godspeed attack to kind of go through, and basically I think this is EX specific as well.
Yes,
Um,
I'm chaining my downward thrust to get a few extra hits, and Dallas that is the nicest he has been to me since I picked
That
up
was
this category.
really
Yeah,
fast.
So we skipped the Thunder phase entirely. So we got one last phase, and this could be annoying. I need to watch out for this vortex that he spews out in front of me, because if he ends up hitting me with that, oh, he's not dead. I have to kill both these satellites first. If he ends up hitting me with that, it wastes like 10 to 15 seconds, and you just feel bad every time that happens. So this attack here, I need to not be caught in that.
And yeah, we saw a little bit of it earlier, but Delos likes to just kind of float off the edge of the arena, and when he does that, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. You just kind of got to wait for him to come back.
Yeah,
And
other
that was
characters
actually
you can get a little bit of damage if they have a bit of a range. But
that was actually really scary. I was a little scared for Ghost King there.
This is. I got stuck. I got stuck.
That
Yeah,
was-
yeah. Okay, so here's this animation that
was
wastes so much
Too
time.
much swag.
He was really close earlier to like sliding into it. The portal has a really long active hitbox, way longer than you'd think it would be, and he was kind of playing around the edge of it.
All right, he's doing the laser attack, and I can't hit the satellite.
Yeah,
So-
again, Delos likes to just kind of float over the edge. His satellites do the same too sometimes, but this should be it.
All right, so that's the first of two final boss fights, and this is the longest cutscene in the game. I am very glad that we have as many cutscene skips as we do, because they do start to wear on you a little bit after you run this game hundreds of times.
Yeah, once again, if you think there are a lot of like obnoxiously long anime cutscenes here, this is way better than it was when I ran the game. Like,
Yeah.
after they declined the game and said, too much anime, the scientists spent a lot of time in the lab and found a way to produce this run with approximately 20% less anime. And GDQ gave us the go-ahead to run it then.
I don't remember if that happens every time, but I think you actually did get a level off of Dallas there.
Yeah, that'll be helpful in the next fight. So the next
Just
fight
barely.
is this is a character who they've alluded to a couple times in the story. We haven't touched on him. Bump, bump, bump. It is Toel's father,
Yes.
who is the head of House Fact, and he's been manipulating everything behind the scenes. So he just impales Dallas here with great prejudice.
Dignified man.
Dignified.
Toll, I am your father.
So yeah, it's a pretty long, exposition here where he just talks about how evil he is, basically, and how he's gonna obtain true demonic power or whatever. And it's pretty long-winded. You can probably read a couple donations.
He wants to be the Pirate of the Caribbean. What's wrong with that? Sorry, that joke is dumb. I should have retired that a long time ago. Alrighty, you can feel free to go ahead and read some donations.
Cool. So we've got Telejanus donated
There he is.
$200. No burst. Go for sub 120 ghost.
Close.
That one was met, I think, a couple days ago.
And Bishop Cruz donated $10. Great to see an ease game here at GDQ. Rocking tunes and great action make this my favorite action RPG series. Looking forward to seeing you smash Dharm. One question though, why do you run easy instead of, say, Inferno? Donation goes to Couch's Choice.
Well, Inferno is a different difficulty setting for East 6. To put it simply, different difficulties only really up until Nightmare, they only really escalate in the amount of combat you need to do to grind. And while some people do run higher difficulties, the general any percent we do is easy. The higher difficulties, they really only add a little bit of extra grind time and
They had some boss patterns too.
some slight boss pattern changes.
Slight correction. Inferno is actually in Felghana, not Ark.
That's right. My bad. Sorry. Go ahead and continue.
Sorry, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Xynosaur donated $10. The usual line, long-time viewer, first-time donator. I started streaming casual playthroughs of all the Ys games to celebrate the 30th anniversary of the first game, which was June 21st, and this $10 came from donations of my followers. Ys is totally my favorite series of all time, and I'm so hyped to see the origin in a GDQ. I want to give some shout-outs to Nopslides, Shaitan, and Melz for all the help they give me for my channel. Oh, and of course, kill the animals.
So this is the first time we see Fina's model in the entire game, and then a orchestrated version of Beyond the Beginning starts playing.
And she basically, just gives him this sword, which gives him the idea to give this dramatic speech about the power of cooperation and friendship, and that grants him the power to smash through the
powers of
fact
Kane.
shield
It's
The
magic.
power of friendship.
It gives us the power to defeat Kane Fac's red text.
Do we get white text?
Yes.
White
We do.
text.
So the Silver Sword is a reference to Ys 1, which you need the Silver Sword to beat the final boss, even though it is not actually the strongest sword in the game. I'll go ahead and read one more donation. We got cutscene.
Yep, Craigon donated $20. Ys Origin has always been a favorite game of all time. Glad to see a run. I'm very disappointed you're not running Nightmare with Felgana Odol, but you're doing great. Hope to see Oath and Felgana next year.
So, quick explanation of this upcoming fight. The entire first, 80% of the fight is basically a giant shell game. He has 3 segments, 2 arms and a chest, and the Black Pearl is going to be hidden in randomly in one of those 3 segments. Other than the very first part, it's always in the chest, but after that, it's it's anybody's guess. So hopefully, we'll get good luck. It'll be the first body part he chooses to break each phase.
I love this theme. So I'm combo canceling here not because I need to for damage. Silver Sword in this game spews out a bunch of these light spears, but the main reason I'm doing it, well, I don't need to anymore, but the main reason I normally do it is because it builds up combo faster. I have not taken a lot of damage, so my combo regenerates fairly slowly, which is why I go off the screen here to take a few points of damage. Later game bosses in this game are fairly easy, but even on Nightmare I did not find this fight hard, which came as a surprise to a fellow stream watch, or a guy who watches my stream a lot by the name of Delphi. He was like, wait, I spent months on this. Part of it, I think, was I tried Nightmare after I started speedrunning this game. I still beat it, standard, but this fight has a few ways you can abuse it with boost.
Yeah,
on
you also notice that when he's in between here, the ground rearranges at certain points on Darm's health bar. So you end up kind of falling off the floor anyway.
This is not doing anything, but it looks really cool.
Spin to win.
Gotta be like our own impression
So
of a
there's some bad
lighthouse.
luck there. He broke the one arm in the chest, and no Black Pearl.
And this is the worst. This is the worst of the 3 forms. A good run of this game, you never get this form for Total EX.
So yeah, basically, just break the Pearl open. He goes dormant, and you just wail on it for a while, and then he'll shift to another random form.
Yeah, and you'll note there was even like a damage cap. Like his health bar actually goes back up because the game is forcing you to go through X number of phases.
Yeah, then it just shifts randomly. Like it'll change to a different color from the the last cycle, but it shifts randomly between yellow, red, and black. And yeah, the black one is the one you don't want to see. But good luck there. Yeah, first body part had the Pearl, and now we're going to go on to the final phase.
And
So he's
now that
actually
we've
out of
actually got it
health.
at 0 health, and he's just going to be alive again for no reason.
So you can actually start attacking this phase right
that
away,
was
unlike
close.
the previous phases.
You can actually break this shield that he makes with his tentacles, and then just start wailing on him before he starts making it like almost impossible.
Time's
because
going to be
there's
up very soon,
yeah,
by the
time's
way.
gonna
As
be,
soon as
on
he
the
hits
white
0 on the health bar, basically.
Alrighty. Well, people paid some pretty good money, and I don't think I'm on PB base anymore, so let's take some hits.
Oh,
For
yeah,
you
okay,
are
yeah,
not
well-
on PvPs.
Are we
My
going to
PB
go
is
for it?
My PB is a 120-10.
Yeah, you're.
I gotta finish this. I gotta finish this in style.
Pure style. I agree.
Don't
There's
miss this time like you did in practice.
Oh, I
Okay,
have to
here we
remind you
go.
that.
Time for it.
I
You
missed.
missed!
No, there it is.
Oh, whatever.
Yeah, the hitboxes on that fight.
Time.
It's pretty.
Time.
Yeah, time.
Time. The hitbox in that fight can be pretty weird.
Raw.
Red text.
We don't need your damn red text anymore.
What do you mean, sir?
Just a nice little. So we've been talking about the red text a lot. The interesting for all you people who like lore out there. If you notice when Ghost King was talking to the Ruse, it kind of talks in like these little like runic text. As Toll, if you speak to a Rue while in boost form, like the demon form, you actually get like an English subtext. So you get a little bit of extra little flavor text there if you want to see something extra that we've never seen in the speedrun.
Yeah, so this next cutscene takes like 6 minutes, and we're already basically done here. What ends up happening, well, you can play the game to find out, but it's basically the resolution of the story that carries over into East 1, and yeah, it goes from there. There's a lot of great games in this series. I think this game is fantastic. Pick it up if you haven't already. It's on Steam sales a lot for like $6. Because it's been around for a few years. So we have vanquished our father and banished him to the Pearl of Dark Power and rendered ourselves...
Banished to the Shadow Realm.
And sleep time. Alrighty, thank you everybody for watching. We won't go through the rest of this cutscene. It's very long.